If you use a web browser, you see TLD top level domains every single day. Look at the site you're on right now. It's going to say .com. But there's plenty of others out there as well. You have .gov, .xyz, .rocks, .google, .gay. Yes, that one does exist. But there's also regional based ones like .au, .eu, .africa, and even .kiwi for the New Zealanders out there. But that's not even close to an exhaustive list. That is like a couple of tiny examples. There is a lot of them here. Now, the initial list was a lot shorter. There was like a handful of them, and really, these are the only ones you actually need. The rest of them pretty much just exist to make companies an absolute boatload of money. On that note, Google has unveiled 8 new top-level domains. Most of these are perfectly harmless, some of them might even be useful, but two of them are a serious problem. So let's have a look. The first set we have is .dad, for the dads in your life. Maybe you want to have something for Father's Day, or maybe you're like a Instagram influencer and you're a dad, or something like that. Totally fine, completely harmless. We have ones for the grads. We have .esq for the esquires. We have .prof for the professors. We have .phd for the PhDs. This actually would be pretty useful. Let's say you have a PhD. Let's say you're a professor. This could be useful for like your research page, your listing out your resume, things like that. And if you're an attorney, .esq could be pretty useful. These two here could actually be pretty useful as well if you're trying to convince people that you're a flat earth researcher, for example. Just a thought. But totally fine as well, probably see them in the real world. Now the last set are where the two issues are. The first one we have is .nexus. This is one you'll commonly see for gaming sites like Nexus Mods or, you know, Gamers Nexus, which is actually the Gamers Nexus site. We have .foo. This is probably going to be used for programming sites. You know, foo is a common example variable. Foo is a common thing you print out in a loop and things like this. Totally fine. You might see them here and there in the real world. The last two are the problem. .zip and .mov. Now, for any of you out there who've used a computer in the past 10, 15 or so years, you probably recognize those as file types. .zip being an archive file, and .mov being a QuickTime media file, which is more common to see over on the Apple side, but you will see it in other places as well. Now, for you and me, the people who are, you know, techie people, watching a Linux channel, watching a tech channel, you're probably not gonna fall for some really obvious phishing attempts. But keep in mind, you're not the general target when it comes to phishing attacks. Put your mind into the mindset of the average person, as in someone who has no idea how computers work. Let's go through a simple example. Let's say you are my business partner or somebody else in my life that is handling money in some fashion, and we are having a conversation over some text-based messaging app. It doesn't matter what the app is, a lot of them do the exact same thing. And I ask you, where can I find my financial statement? And you reply back by saying, log on to the intranet and download the file called financialstatement.zip. Now, this application, like a lot of applications out there, is trying to be useful, and it sees financialstatement.zip. Now, a lot of applications seeing a string of text that looks like a URL that has a valid top-level domain will automatically convert that into a clickable link. You notice the file name is a clickable link, so you assume the person has actually sent you a link directly to download the file. You click the file, and then you notice a problem. You are sent to this site. This is an example site telling you about the dangers of .zip and .mov. this is made to warn you about this. But if this is sent to some other random site that happens to be a registered .zip domain, you could be sent to anything else out there and think the person is just sending you something that is completely harmless. So, as an attacker, all I would need to do is register common file names or register file names that I know are being used within an organization, and now you've got an attack vector in that organization that nobody thinks is a problem. This is a really interesting kind of attack because it's not a scammer directly contacting you. It is someone that you trust. It is a trusted source of information who is not malicious, but they are sending you something malicious without having any idea they are doing so. But how about this? Let's say you are a scammer. One of the biggest issues with dealing with people that are slightly techie when trying to scam them is they are slightly techie, and they're going to see through some of the absolute basic things you're doing. If you send someone a domain, and that domain is not linked to the thing you say you're linked to, they're probably going to notice that. If you're a scammer that says you are from Microsoft, and you try to send them a website that isn't Microsoft's website, a lot of people are going to notice that. Well, now you have a dedicated download domain that can make it look somewhat legit. Let's say you have something like windows-update.zip, windowssecurity.zip, windows 10 iso.zip. Some of those have already been registered by people who just bought them for the sake of buying them, but you get the idea. You can buy these domains that have Microsoft, Windows, whatever company you're dealing with in the name, and because it says .zip at the end, a lot of people are going to assume it's totally normal that it's downloading a file. It's .zip. .zip is a file type, so that makes sense. Or how about this? Someone has already bought free Discord Nitro.zip. Now, this person bought it as a joke. They're not trying to use it maliciously, but things like this are going to be purchased. If you don't believe me that people are going to do this, it's already being done. So there are already scammers using .zip as a phishing attack. We have things like Microsoft Office .zip. This looks totally legit. It makes sense. You're at Microsoft Office.zip. Log into your Microsoft account. Whoops, you've lost your Microsoft account. Now, big props to Brave, this domain is already marked as dangerous. Honestly, I feel like every single .zip and .mov domain should be marked as dangerous until otherwise proven safe. There is basically no valid reason to have a .zip domain. This is a guilty until proven innocent situation, and I fully support it. Unless you are 7-zip, you shouldn't be using .zip. It should just be assumed everything is malware. And there's another fun one. Think about the file managers that will interpret a URL for you, and if it's not a file name, will open it in your web browser. So if you try to write, say, I don't know, windowsupdate.zip, and you don't happen to have a file under that name, it might just open in your web browser. Now, for any of the file manager developers out there, I wish, just ignore these top-level domains. It's gonna make your life so miserable if you try to acknowledge them as URLs. Just treat them as file names, and if your users complain about one site not being able to load from your file manager, fine. I don't care. They can deal with it. It is a much better idea to not naively implement this. Now, besides being a phishing scammer's dream, this whole TLD existing is just weird. Let's have a look at the application details for .zip. The proposed GTLD will provide the marketplace with direct association to the term zip, which is often colloquially used to refer to a zip drive, a device used for digital storage. Now, this was written in 2014, but even so, nobody had used the term zip drive for about 20 years. For anyone who doesn't know what a zip drive is, it's one of these things here. It's basically a drive format that died and no one cares about anymore. No one thinks of a zip drive when they think of zip. they think of a zip archive. So that by itself is just weird. The mission of the proposed gtld.zip is to provide a dedicated domain space in which registrants can enact second-level domains that relate to digital storage offerings and information or provide storage or other services. So I assume what they're saying here is it would be used for like, you know, Google Drive and Dropbox and equivalents like that, which is obviously not how it was ever going to be used. Like, you should have seen from the start, like, Zip was well in use when this was first proposed, that it was just going to be used for scamming. Now, you are kind of in luck, because tools like uBlock Origin are starting to block a lot of .zip and .mov domains because it's just being used for malware, and it should never have existed. But my recommendation to any of these system administrators out there, whether it's for a business or for your home network, just block every single .zip and .mov domain. Just block it at the TLD level. Yes, it'll be a little annoying when you find one site out there that is completely legitimate that happens to be using it. But it's a lot easier just to whitelist that than dealing with all of the problems that are going to happen from people trying to phish your users using this domain, especially in a business context. Because look, people in a business already fall for phishing scams. You don't want to make the phishing scams any easier. By themselves, .zip and .mov aren't going to make anything inherently dangerous, but they do act as another layer of cover, another layer of protection to make the scam harder to see. And when we are talking about people that are probably not that tech literate anyway, any extra thing that hides it is going to lead to more people being hit by these attacks. And I know from all the comments I saw over on Reddit, yes, I'm well aware that .com is a used file extension. It came into being during the MS-DOS days, and it sees a little bit of use today. The difference with .com and .zip and .mov is that most people don't know that .com files exist. If I send you a .com and I tell you it's about a file, you're probably not going to assume I'm sending you a file. Maybe you will, but it's far, far less likely. The same reason why it's a bad idea to have a .exe TLD. Hopefully no one proposes that. Maybe it's already been proposed. I don't know. But if it has been, please don't let it exist. So let me know. Do you think these TLDs matter? Do you think because phishing scams already happen, it doesn't matter if there's extra domains that make them more possible? I would love to know. And if you do have a legitimate reason for using .zip, I would definitely like to know. I can't think of what it would be, but maybe there's gonna be something. And hey, go check out those other TLDs as well. Maybe there'll be some use to you as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you like the video, go like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, Scribe, Pay, linked in the description down below. That's gonna be it for me, and scammers are bad. That's my hot take.